participation in person. So we have two meetings tonight, one being the Committee of Adjustment and a second being the Advisory Committee. There'll be three minor variances for the committee to consider. And there'll be three severances and two zoning bylaw amendments for the Advisory Committee to review and provide comments to the county's land division, and zoning bylaw amendments to review and provide comments to council. Please note that the meeting is video and audio recorded, and all electronic meetings are uploaded to municipality's YouTube page. By registering to participate in a meeting by electronic means or consenting to have your likeness and comments recorded and posted on YouTube. So we'll do roll call. Kim McCarthy.
Here.
Carol Artia.
Present.
Chris Picard.
Present.
Paul Sedra.
Present.
And I, Councilor Johnson Clusa, present as well. So we'll go into a moment of reflection. Thank you. So in attendance, we have our Secretary Treasurer Monica Farnpump to my right, and online we have our Consultant Planner Jeremy Tran. So Monica, would you like to read the conference agenda, please?
Yeah, three, Mr. Chair, that the committee approves the June 9th agenda as circulated.
Okay, any questions or comments? No questions or comments to bring forward?
No, sir.
Okay, all right, so I have moving second, moved by Kim, seconded by Kiro, all in favor? Okay, thank you. Do we have a disclosure of conflict of interest on the table? No. Okay, consent agenda resolution, Monica, please.
That the Committee of Adjustment approves the minutes from the April 14th, 2026 Committee of Adjustment as circulated.
Okay, mover. All second, Chris, all in favor? Thank you. Okay, so now we're proceeding to the hearing part of the meeting. The purpose of this hearing is to inform and provide the public with the opportunity to ask questions or express their views with respect to minor variances before us today. The township requests you please notify the secretary of the committee by email at planning@puslinch.ca if you wish to be on record and would like to be notified of future hearings of decisions regarding the specific application. The format of the hearing is as follows. I will read the application to be heard and ask staff to display the relevant information. Staff will then present information reports specifically outlining the purpose of application, summarizing compliance with township's notification submission requirements, and outlining staff comments. The applicant will then present the purpose and details of the application and any further relevant information. Following this, the public can obtain clarification, ask questions, and express their views on the proposal. You have a maximum of 10 minutes to speak. Following this, the members of the committee can obtain clarification, ask questions as well. And if a member wishes to add a condition, I'll ask for a vote on condition. The committee will deliberate the application with any approved conditions and render a decision. This decision will be subject to a 20-day appeal period. Okay, so we'll start with the first one. 7.1 D13 WIL Wilson Gary 6595 Ellis Road, Township Puslinch, requesting relief on new comprehensive zoning bylaw 23-2018 as amended from section 4.4.2 table 4.1 to permit a maximum lot coverage for accessory buildings and structures of 650 square meters instead of 200 square meters as required. Requesting relief of new comprehensive zoning bylaw 23-2018 as amended from section 4.4.2 table 0.1 to permit accessory structure height of 7.1 meters instead of 5 meters as required. Okay, Monica, would you please summarize the application, notification of commission requirements, outlining staff agency, public comments, and recommendations?
Yes, through you, Mr. Chair. All submission requirements have been met. This application was circulated to the 60-meter buffer to neighboring property owners, and there's no further comments received outside of what was provided in the agenda.
Okay, so with the first applicant, please come forward. Yeah, sure. Okay. Just please state your name for the record
Gary Wilson,
and the address.
6595 Ellis Road.
Okay, so please present your application.
Yeah, so basically I'm here, want to build an accessory building at the,
Sure, you can go up to the screen and point if you
Sure.
like to more different.
want to build an accessory building kind of to the middle, to the back area of my property, asking for variance for the height, which is slightly higher, and for the size of it for lot coverage, which is a little more than what's allowed there. So that's the purpose of my visit here today.
All right, so Monica, there are registrants who requested to speak.
If there's anyone who would like to speak to this application, if you can please use the raise your hand function.
No? Okay, so Monica, are there any written comments received?
No.
Okay, are there any members of the audience who would like to speak? All right, so let's go around the table. Start with you, Kim. Questions? The applicant.
No, I don't think I have any questions.
Okay. Kira.
I didn't have any questions.
Okay. Chris.
Just a couple. What kind of vehicles are you gonna store in that building?
So just personal cars and whatnot there.
So the follow-up question of that is why has it got such a high ceiling height for cars?
Just the size of it there. Basically, that's what the designer came up with there, so. It's what is the lowest pitches we can do for snow load and whatnot there, so.
Oh, sorry, I didn't ask a clear question. You've got a 5 meter interior clear height, which is, we'll call it 16 feet.
Okay, yeah,
Give or take.
Yeah.
That's really high for a car, so I'm gonna go back to why so high, relative to what's being stored.
well, I might wanna, put one on top of the other kind of thing there, but it's also mostly to do with the size of it, right? 60 feet across, where you have to get that pitch there, right? So that's basically what it came out to. Yeah,
Thank you. That's it for me.
Okay, I don't have any questions.
yeah.
Comments? Okay, so, do we have any conditions, Monica?
Yes, there's been one suggested condition through you, Mr. Chair, that all storage containers and or shipping containers be removed from the subject lands to the satisfaction of the township prior to the issuance of any building permits to ensure compliance with lot coverage requirements.
Okay, so I'll read the actual, notice decision, and that is section 45 of the Planning Act as amended and new comprehensive zoning bylaw 23-2018 as amended, and application for minor variance requesting relief of new coverage zoning bylaw 23-2018 as amended from section 4.4.2 table 4.1 to permit a maximum lot coverage for accessory building and structures of 650 square meters instead of 200 square meters as required. And that is section 45 of the Planning Act as amended and new comprehensive zoning bylaw 23-2018 as amended. An application for a minor variance requesting relief from new comprehensive zoning bylaw 23-2018 as amended from section 4.4.2 table 4.1 to permit an accessory structure height of 7.1 meters instead of 5 meters as required. Sorry, I didn't have it. So we will vote on the application, take into consideration information presented to us, the staff report, and your judgment whether the application meets the four tests to be considered a minor variance. So would you please confirm your vote as I call your name? It's either approved, opposed, or deferred. You're Chris, approve. Paul, approve. And I approve as well. So subject to 20-day appeal period. So that's great.
Thank you.
Yeah, so we'll go out of the hearing right now and back into the committee meeting, and Monica, would you please read the resolution?
Yep, the resolution for you, Mr. Chair, has unchanged from what was posted in the agenda.
We have a mover. Okay, second, Zero, all in favor? Two. Okay, so let's move on to the next one. We're now get to the agenda here. 7.2, D13, MCC, Puslin Beach and Marine Limited, 43 McClintock, PV, Township of Puslin, requesting relief of new comprehensive zoning bylaw 23-2018 as amended, section 6.3, table 6.2 to permit a lot area of 0.17 hectares where 0.5 hectares is required, requesting relief of new comprehensive zoning bylaw 23-2018 as amended, section 6.3, table 6.2 to permit a reduced lot frontage of 7.4 meters where 20 meters is required. Okay, Monica, would you please summarize the application, notification, submission requirements, only staff, agency, and public comments?
Yes, all of the submission requirements have been met for this application. And it was circulated to the 60-meter buffer to neighboring properties. And there's no further agency or public comments received that were not included in the agenda.
Okay, very good. Okay, would the agent or applicant please come forward?
So
Well, please state your name and address for the record.
Yeah, I'm Leonardo Lombardi. I'm here on behalf of my firm Sorbera Law, representing our client Jeff Heffernan.
Okay, fair enough. So go ahead, please present the application.
Yep, so this application is just a technical requirement so that we can fulfill the previous conditions we were given for our approved consent for a lot addition file B51/25. And our client is trying to acquire a part of the adjacent blockade to formalize a laneway to access his property. And while the severance was approved, we are here to seek relief for the lot frontage and lot area within the resort residential zone. Specifically, we are seeking relief to permit a lot frontage of 7.4 meters where 20 meters is required and a lot area of 0.17 hectares where 0.4 hectares is required. And I want to emphasize that these deficiencies are historical in nature. And they result from a long-standing size and shape of the existing parcels and the specific requirements of the laneway consolidation. And it's important to note there is no new development or construction being proposed for this site. This is essentially just a housekeeping matter so that we can recognize the existing conditions and finalize a lot line adjustment that has already been approved in principle. And township planning staff have reviewed the proposal and confirmed that the variances maintain the general intent of the official plan and zoning bylaw and meet the 4 tests of the Planning Act. And as such, they have recommended approval. And we respectfully ask that the committee follows that recommendation so that we may proceed with clearing the final conditions of the consent.
Great, thank you. So, Monica, are there any written comments been received?
no.
Is there anybody in the audience?
Okay, if anybody online would like to speak to towards this application, if you can please use the raise your hand function.
Okay, is there anybody in the audience who would like to speak to this item? No? Okay, so let's go around the table. Kim?
No comments.
Sure.
No comments.
Chris?
Mike, could you pull, I think it's detail A up so that we can see it? I do want to suggest one condition. Yeah, there's actually a little detail drawing just to the left upper, above and left there, Mike. That's a little clearer right there, the one above. Thank you. So consistent with past practice of this committee, I would like to suggest a condition that requires the applicant to remove the asphalt encroachment from the we'll call it the lower left parcel. So there's a few square meters of asphalt to come out, trying really not to maintain access, unintended, unapproved access over the neighbor's property.
Sorry, I'm trying to miss where that is.
So just Monica, go to the little square box. No, go to the right. I'll stand up. Sure.
The triangle.
It's right there.
Right at the intersection of it.
So if I'm reading the diagram correctly, that's the edge of asphalt, but that's the property line. So this driveway to that property now continues to cross the neighbor's property. As I say, consistent with what we've done previously, I would suggest that we just have them remove the encroachment.
Any comments, Ken? Sure.
No, I would agree with that.
Oh,
I do remember the file, so I would agree.
this all is that better. as a condition, so how would you suggest we word?
Just that the applicant remove the asphalt encroachment from, the neighboring property. Or the asphalt driveway encroachment from a neighboring property.
So we can add that, Monica? Okay, can we read that condition?
Yeah, through you, Mr. Chair, that the asphalt encroaching on the neighboring property be removed to the satisfaction of the township.
Okay, fair enough, okay. All right, so, that's a condition, everybody's on side with the condition. So, let's vote on the application, taking into consideration information presented to us, the staff report and adjustment where the application needs a for test or consider minor variance. So I'll read it, out in the matter of section 45 of Planning Act as amended and new comprehensive zoning bylaw 23-2018 as amended, an application for a minor variance requesting relief of new comprehensive zoning bylaw 23-2018 as amended, section 6.3 table 6.2 to permit a lot area of 0.17 hectares where 0.4 hectares is required in matter of section 45 of the Planning Act as amended, the new comprehensive zoning bylaw 23-2018 as amended. Application for a minor variance requesting relief for new comprehensive zoning bylaw as amended section 6.3 table 6.2 to permit a reduced lot frontage of 7.4 meters where 20 meters is required. And Monica, would you just reread the consent?
Through you, Mr. Chair.
I'm sorry, the condition.
Yeah, the additional condition is that the minor variance application be approved subject to the following, that the asphalt encroaching on the neighboring property be removed to the satisfaction of the township.
Okay, let's go around the table. Kim? Carol?
Approved.
Chris? Approved. Paul? I approve as well. So it's subject to a 20-day appeal period. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
So let's go out of the hearing and go back into the committee meeting. Monica, would you please read the resolution?
Yep, through you, Mr. Chair. The only change to the resolution as presented in the agenda is the condition that the asphalt encroaching on the neighboring property be removed to the satisfaction of the township.
Okay, now the mover. You're up second. Chris, all in favor? Okay, so let's go back to the hearing part of the meeting, of the agenda. We go to 7.3 D13 BAL Balchi Eric 4586 Victoria Road South Township essentially requesting relief of new comprehensive zoning bylaw 23-2018 as amended. Section 4.4 table 4.1 to permit a rear yard setback of 1.2 meters where 2 meters is required. It's over. 2 meters required, so we've done that one. Okay, Monica, we'll go back to you. Would you please summarize the application, notification, submission requirements, all link staff, agency, public comments and recommendations?
Yep. Through you, Mr. Chair, all submission requirements for this application have been met. The application was circulated to all properties within a 60-meter buffer, and all agency and public comments received were already included in the agenda.
Okay, so let's ask the applicant to come forward. Hey, would you please state your name, address?
Wade Selick, 4586 Victoria Road South.
Hey, would you please present the application? You can go up to the, you can go up to the point of the right.
So back here, Tacoma Engineering has set up a storage type of shed that we did out there. It's basically meant to store lawnmowers, kids' toys, patio furniture. We're not young anymore, so we can't go up and down the basements. A lot of tools, stuff like that, that we,
Okay, so can
Want
we
to
just
use that
talk
for-
about the encroachment there, I believe the issue with there is you're closer to the property line.
are you talking about back here?
Yes,
So when this was built, Tacoma Engineering had set everything up there. They designed it, they put it up. They set it out. So as far as that goes there is quite a gap there. To have. If you need like emergency vehicle or something to go by there, it will go through. To have that.
so my understanding is you have to have 2 meters there and it's 1.22 meters. All right, have a seat. Okay, Monica, are there any written comments?
No.
Okay, are there anybody online like to speak to this?
If there's anyone online who'd like to speak to this application, if you can please use the raise your hand function. No.
Okay, are there members, any members of the audience who like to speak to this item? Okay, okay, let's go around the table. Kim.
I guess the covered portion that's existing. That was built when?
Where are we looking?
Where it says existing recreational structure. On the left-hand side,
Okay,
is that a new building or an existing building?
so that's the whole shed,
Okay, so that's existing.
correct?
When was it built?
Last year.
Last year. So did it get permits back then?
So when this whole thing for Tacoma Energy, when Tacoma started it, that's when that was built.
Right, so did you have a building permit when it was built?
I think he submitted for one.
Okay. So I'm just trying to get a feel for why it wasn't caught the first time around.
So maybe Monica could help.
Yeah, through you, Mr. Chair, there was no building permit issued at the time that this building was erected. It was found by building staff and it was brought to the attention of the property owner that they did require a building permit. They have applied for one now, but it has been halted for this minor variance.
No further questions.
Okay, sure.
That was exactly in my line of questions. Sure, I appreciate the answer.
Chris.
That was mine as well. I'm troubled by the lack of, by you not getting a building permit in advance and now seeking relief. As I understand it, the purpose of a minor variance is not to allow the correction of errors created by an owner themselves. Perhaps to deal with other existing questions, but this one gives me trouble. That's it. Thank you.
Well, maybe I missed something. What's the connection to Tacoma Engineering there? Like,
They're the ones that designed it.
they built it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't have any other questions.
Yeah, well, I would think Tacoma Engineering should have known better. It's unfortunate that they didn't apply for the bill. I don't blame the homeowner as much as I blame the professional outfit for not
Can
checking.
I answer that?
Absolutely.
If I were the engineer, I wouldn't be the one applying for the building permit. It would be the contractor or the owner. And the engineer may or may not on a small building like this ever know that it was being designed. But if they were complicit in reviewing shop drawings, then I would suggest the chief building official wants to register a complaint with the PEO. Absolutely.
Who was the constructor?
I'm sorry,
Who constructed it?
there was three of them that were, sorry, I don't offhand, I can't remember it, I'm a little nervous, but there was three of them that we had an engineer. We had an architect, and then we had someone that looked it over.
Who actually did the physical work?
So the physical work
Yeah.
was done by my spouse.
Okay.
That's a question.
Sure.
I guess for internal, for like, so the variance is coming out before the building permit.
That's
And so can it almost be a condition? I mean, we're going first, but as to if we support it, that is subject to that building permit being, like our approval is based on that building approval going through. I guess naturally would happen anyway, because that's a separate.
Yeah, and we've had instances where, there, and other people have done the same thing,
Yeah, yeah.
built,
Yeah.
in advance of that. I don't want to debate you, if you want to.
No, it's okay.
That's fine. Let's get on with business then. Okay, let's go around the table. Kim?
Approved.
Okay, Carol?
Yeah, it's unfortunate, but approved as well.
Yes, if I were looking at this in advance of the building permit in the normal process, I would approve it, so therefore I approve.
Well,
Approved.
I approve as well. Okay, so it'll be subject to 20-day appeal period. So let's, that's it for you.
Thank you.
Let's go out of the hearing and, Monica, could you please, read the resolution?
Through you, Mr. Chair, the resolution is unchanged from what was presented in the agenda.
All right, so I'm a mover. Chris, second Carol, all in favor? Thank you. Okay, so, any new business? No. Is there a staff report? No staff report, okay. The chairman of the Committee of Adjustment, could you read the resolution, please?
That the Committee of Adjustment hereby adjourns at 7:30 p.m.
Okay, we have a mover. Paul, second Ken, all in favor? Okay, thank you. All right, so let's have a 5-minute pause while we get the video going.
I guess we can agree with going to maybe 2025, so. It's just whatever is the work as well, someone should in the process. Either that's.
Good evening. Welcome to the Planning and Development Advisory Committee meeting for June the 9th, 2026. We'll start with the roll call. Jim McCarthy, Bureau Apia, Chris Picard, present, Paul Sedra, present, and I, Councilor Johnson Pouza, present as well. To my right is our Secretary, Monica Farncombe, and online is our consultant planner, Jeremy Tran. And I'm not sure how long our clerk will be attending here. She's there, Justine Brotherstone. All righty, so let's get moving with this. Do a moment of reflection right now. Thank you. Could you please read the resolution?
Through you, Mr. Chair, that the committee approves the June 9th, 2026 PDAC agenda as circulated.
I will mover. Paul, second Kim, all in favor? Thank you. So please note the meeting is video and audio recorded, and all in-person and electronic meetings are uploaded to the municipality's YouTube page. By registering to participate in the meeting, electronic means you are consenting to have your likeness and comments recorded and posted on YouTube. Okay, Monica, have we received any disclosures of peculiar interest?
No.
Okay, none from the members, no? Okay, consent agenda, Monica.
That the Planning and Development Advisory Committee approves the minutes from the meeting held on April 14th, 2026, and acknowledges receipt of consent item 6.2 questions received from the committee and staff responses.
Okay, a mover, Bureau, second, all in favor? Good. Okay, we have no delegations. Notice of public meetings, just wanted, we can just run past them, quickly, Monica.
Yeah, through you, Mr. Chair. On June 17th, 2026, we have two public information meetings. One for zoning bylaw amendment D14 COL at 6683 Ellis Road, and the other for D14 call at 2781-2809 Town Line Road. And on June 18th at 7 PM, we have a public information meeting for the application D14 CBM at 6947 Concession 2.
Okay, so we'll start with the reports. Land Division, 9.1.1, B12-26, Guthrie Lorna, 857 Watson Road South, Township Puslinch. Proposed variance is 51 meters by 79 meters for 24 hectares. Vacant land for proposed urban residential use. Retained parcel is 5.8 hectares with 29-meter frontage. Existing proposed agriculture use with existing accessory building / barns. So would the applicant please come forward and present?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Jeff Buseman, Van Herk Surveying. This
Yep, absolutely, sorry.
this application is for a severance, as mentioned, the dimensions 51 here by 79 meters deep. We've intentionally set it the same depth as the parcels that are there now. We also intentionally set it up to be 0.4 of a hectare, which is kind of a minimum standard that we'd like to see. This is in the village of Arkell. It's in the hamlet designation because it's in the hamlet. It's not in primary ag. It's not in secondary ag. It's in the hamlet. Or in the hamlet, severances are actually encouraged. That's what this is proposed at this time. You can see that the village is quite old. A lot of homes have been, older homes have been established a long time ago. You can see that they're a lot smaller. So this one will be a much, larger. All of these are probably like half an acre or 0.2 of a hectare each. So you can see that this is much bigger. I had some dialogue with the Guelph Junction Railway to make sure that this configuration was satisfactory to them, and it was, in terms of being at least 30 meters away from the railway there and an adequate distance from this crossing here. There's definitely a good sight line. There's no issues with that. So I'd say it's a great severance, and it's encouraged. One small thing, MDS does not apply when you are in a hamlet designation. So the planning staff comments initially talked about MDS, but then realized, no, that doesn't apply. The planning staff report are asking for a comment on the reduced frontage of the property. Whether we're calling this the frontage or that the frontage, I'm not sure, but they're asking for a reduced frontage on their minor variance to address that, and that's not an issue at all. So if there's any questions or comments, be happy to answer them.
Okay, so Monica, are there any registrants who wish to speak?
No.
Okay. All right, so is there any attendees watching the hearing and would like to give comments or questions regarding the application? Heard on discussion, the comments can be heard at the Land Division Committee meeting, which I understand from Monica's on July the 23rd. All right, so let's go around the table. Questions, Kim, comments? Okay, Kira.
None for me, thank you.
Chris.
Nothing for me, thank you.
Cool.
I'm good, thanks.
Okay, we did add, we are proposing to add one item to our comments. Would you please read that out to Monica?
Through you, Mr. Chair, there's actually two changes to the application. As mentioned by the applicant, the first change is that we will just have a 2.1 that states that the owner obtains zoning compliance for the lot frontage for the retained lot and shows zoning compliance that the Township of Puslinch file with the Secretary Treasurer of the Planning and Land Division Committee a letter of clearance of this condition. Item 2.2 has been removed, which spoke to MDS. And the other that is added is condition 5, that the owner shall be required to sign an affidavit stating that they will insert a warning clause in the agreement of purchase and sale for the severed lands regarding the Guelph Junction Railway located near the property, advising any potential purchaser of a 24-hour and weekend railway operation, no whistle cessation in place, possible early morning maintenance, and capital projects occurring pending freight train schedule.
Okay, so those are the recommendations from staff. So any comments, questions, Kim? Carol? Chris?
No.
Paul? Okay, so let's have a mover and a seconder. Start with Kim, second Paul, all in favor? Okay, great, thank you. All right, so let's move on to the next one. Okay. Okay, 9.1.2. Okay, B 14-26, Michael Dominguez, 98 Gilmore Road, Township Puslinch. Proposed settlement is 40-meter frontage by 97.3 meters or 0.4 hectares. Existing vacant land for proposed rural residential use. Retained parcel is 40 meters by 96 meters or 0.38 hectares. Existing vacant land for proposed rural residential use. Okay, so would the agent please come forward?
Sure, Jeff Huesman from Van Hart Surveying. Okay, this is, this house, I think it burned down, or it was torn down, that was on there, it's been a vacant lot for a fairly long time. The property is just under 0.8 of a hectare, or just under 2 acres. So the recommendation here is that we divide it, so this one just slightly larger, is the exterior lots we think should be the slightly larger one. And this one will require a minor variance for the fact that it's 0.38 of a hectare instead of 0.4 of a hectare. It's a great, it's a great use of a vacant lot right now. The only other thing that to think about really in this is the MDS requirement to this hobby barn there. They just have a few things like chickens and ducks and so on, just a very low number in there. But when we do MDS, I probably talked about this in the past, there's something called a type A category and a type B category, and this is talked about in the report from planning staff as well, that type B kicks in when there's 4 or more residential units in the area. And for some reason, the way OMAFR set it up is that they said that when we have that scenario, a type B scenario, all the minimum distances double. So because we're in that case, it doubles to 162 meters. If this was a type A scenario, we'd only be requiring 81. We do have 88 to this severance. We have 130 to that. I imagine the house will be located, somewhat more in the middle of the lot. For context, we put a few other houses in the area to show how close they are to this barn already. 120 here, the first house here, 95, and the next one, 125. We really feel like it's not a significant thing and not a negative impact on this property. I think it's a great use of this land to create an infill situation and create an extra lot. So.
Okay, great, thank you. So Monica, were there any registrants to speak?
No.
Okay, again, I'll repeat, if the attendees watching the hearing, we'd like to, would like to give comments or questions regarding the application currently in discussion. Their comments can be heard at the Land Division Committee on July the 23rd. So let's go around the table. Kim, questions, comments? You're up.
No questions, thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Oh. Okay, so I don't have any as well. So Monica, would you please outline any changes that we've made to the recommendation?
Yes, through you, Mr. Chair, we've added one additional condition that the owner shall be required to sign an affidavit stating that they will insert a warning clause in the agreement of purchase and sale for the severed lands regarding the current and any future aggregate operations located adjacent to the property, advising any potential purchaser of daytime and after-hours operations, including potential noise of the aggregate property, and further that the township file with the Secretary Treasurer of the Planning and Land Division Committee a letter of clearance of this condition.
Okay, so also under item 2, it says merged and retained parcel, so it's severed.
Yes,
Retained.
through you, Mr. Chair, that has been edited.
Okay, fair enough. Okay, so any questions or comments on the proposed revisions?
No.
No? Okay, great. So let's have a mover and a second. All in favor? Great, thank you.
Thank you very much.
All righty. So let's move to the next one. Okay, V 62-25, Seed Ali 7061, concession 1,000 Puslinch, proposed 7th for the creation of new residential parcel with an area of approximately 0.4 hectares, approximately 34.2 meters of frontage along concession 1 road, and approximate depth of 116.18 meters. The retained parcel is proposed to have an area of approximately 5 hectares, with approximately 148.18 meters of frontage along concession 1 road, with approximately 252.07 meters of depth. Existing single detached dwelling and 4 accessory structures are proposed to remain on the site. Okay, so we have an applicant to come forward for this item.
Through you, Mr. Chair, they're online.
Okay.
Go
Right.
ahead, Nick.
All right, so would you please state your name and address for the record, please?
Good evening, Chair and committee members. My name is Nick Scarrett with Innovative Planning Solutions, representing the owner of the property miscellaneously known as 7061 Concession 1 in the town of Puslinch. This presentation will provide a brief overview of the request to change conditions provided by this committee on November 14th, 2025 for a proposed land severance. Next slide, please. The previous application was deferred to explore alternatives to address minimum distance separations with the county and municipal staff. Through these discussions, it was determined that an amendment to the town's draft conditions was required. This pertained to a modified condition to address MDS through a rezoning application as a condition of severance. Fundamentally, the proposed land severance has remained the same, other than requirements to amend the draft conditions provided by this committee in November. Next slide, please. The left image illustrates the lands within the secondary agricultural designation and greenlands designation. No change is required to the current land designations as a result of this proposal. And the right image illustrates the lands are rezoned agricultural and environmental protection. The proposed severance would only require the retained parcel to be rezoned if approved to an agricultural site-specific zone classification, and the newly created lot would remain agriculturally zoned. Next slide, please. To address MDS requirements for land severance with respect to the retained lot identified in red, an amendment to the previous condition, specifically condition 2.1 highlighted, is required. Through discussions with the county and municipal staff, a new condition was drafted and presented, which requires a rezoning of the retained lands to address MDS requirements as a condition of severance approval. In short, should the Land Division Committee approve the land severance in a future meeting, the draft condition would require the landowner to file for a rezoning application. The rezoning would limit livestock facilities on the retained lands and reclassify existing structures to storage uses or accessory structures. We are satisfied with this approach and are seeking your approval. Next slide, please. This concludes this brief presentation. We have reviewed all the comments provided and have no questions or concerns. We are satisfied with the draft conditions presented to this committee, and should the committee have any questions, I'm here to assist. Thank you for your time.
So, Monica.
No.
Okay, and if there are any attendees watching the hearing would like to give comments or questions regarding the application currently in discussion, the comments can be heard at the Land Division Committee meeting scheduled for July 23rd. So let's go around the table. Kim? Nothing? Zero.
No, nothing.
Chris?
Nothing, thank you.
Oh,
Nothing, thank you.
okay, and I don't have any questions as well. So, Monica, would you please go through the items that we are changing to go to the county? in terms of our recommendations?
Yep, through you, Mr. Chair, we are adding 2 conditions that were not outlined in the agenda, that being condition 5, that the owner submit a grading plan prior to building permit issuance to demonstrate that the development will not create an adverse effect on the neighboring satisfaction of the township's building department, and further that the township of Whistler file with the secretary, that the applicant, my apologies, that the township of Whistler file with the secretary treasurer of the Planning and Land Division Committee a letter of clearance of this condition. And number 6, that the owner enters into a development agreement to cover the costs of the township's review of the grading plan, and further that the township of Whistler file with the secretary treasurer of the Planning and Land Division Committee a letter of clearance of this condition.
Okay, so those are the changes that were made. Any questions or comments on that? No? Okay, so let's have a mover and a second, please. Moved by Kim, second by Paul. All in favor? Thank you. Okay, so we're done with the 7 applications. We're moving into the zoning bylaw amendment applications. And just want to point out that this committee's mandate is only to provide comments to council when council considers this matter for approval. And we'll read the first one, which is zoning bylaw amendment application D14 COL Collaborative Structures Limited 6683 Township of Whistler. The proposed zoning bylaw amendment is to amend the zoning bylaw to rezone this lands municipally referred to 6683 Ellis Road from agriculture A with site specific 77 SP 77 to agriculture A, which has site specific provisions to permit the building contractor's office, which may include administration offices, workshop and storage buildings, building structures, and uses accessory to above uses, including outdoor storage. This zoning bylaw amendment application associated with the approved consent application B61-24, which permits a lot line adjustment 0.34 hectares with no frontage, outdoor storage area with cell tower to be added to abutting parcel collaborative structures capital holdings limited. Adjustment will align the legal boundaries with the operational footprint of the business. So would the applicant please come forward?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My name is Chris Karosky, and I'm here on behalf of Van Herten, representing the applicant.
Good, thank you. Please proceed.
I believe this committee has seen this application before back in 2024 before it went to Land Division Committee, and the drawing that is up on the screen sort of very portrays the idea. Large property on Ellis Road, and the front part of this site is an existing dwelling. I think it's the same family that owns both parcels, and the contractor use over time has evolved and expanded, and parts of the rear of the residential site have been used for storage and really more accessory to the contractor's yard than the residential component of the property. So the intent of the severance was really to consolidate the land ownership so that the residential component was discrete from the contractor's component of this land parcel. Committee, or the Land Division Committee, approved the severance, and one of the conditions of that severance was that the smaller parcel at the back be rezoned, basically consolidated with the zoning on the adjacent parcel. The zoning on the adjacent parcel was a specialized agricultural zone, basically to permit the contractor use. And so that's really why we're here tonight. The application has been circulated. There's been a number of comments from township advisors. I would say that all of the technical advisors, the engineers, the environmental consultant, the groundwater consultant, and in this case, even MTO was circulated And they were because the property actually backs onto the 401. In fact, it's one of those en route restaurant gas establishments. So MTO as well. None of them have any issues with the zoning in principle. Along with the submission of the application for a zoning bylaw amendment, a site plan has been provided to the township. But really, I think the purpose of the meeting tonight is to discuss primarily the zoning. There is some overlap. And well, there were no concerns with the zoning bylaw amendment with your engineers, your environmental consultants and whatnot. Your planning advisors, NPG, did flag a few things and raised a few questions. A planning justification report was submitted with this application. I was not the author of that report. The author of that report is no longer with Van Harten. So I'm sort of picking this one up. And a few concerns were identified by NPG. One with respect to justifying the application pursuant to the county official plan. At the time the severance was approved, there were no comments from the county that there were any real issues with what was being proposed with the county official plan. One of the comments we've received is that the property is designated secondary agricultural. So this type of use the contractors use is generally permitted. The plan permits small scale commercial, industrial, and institutional uses subject to a few criteria. My thought on this is that if the county had thought that there was some sort of issue or conflict with the policy, it would have been raised even at the land division committee part of the process. It was not. And I don't really think there is an issue. The term small scale, I find a little problematic. There's really no definition for what that means, and context, I think, is everything here. We're not really talking about an expanded use. We're talking about consolidating parcel fabric and zoning on a use that has existed on this property for 20 years or so. So nothing new or nothing bigger is being proposed. It's really just a rationalization of zoning and property fabric. The criteria of that policy that people need to consider, is there sewage and water? There is. It's private. Is it compatible with the surrounding land use? It is. There's no change. It's been this way for, let's say, a couple of decades. Why does the use have to be here? Well, can it be in an urban location? Well, I don't know why they started it up originally, but it has been here for a long time. And as far as I know, creating no conflicts with adjacent land uses. So I mean, really, we're not talking about introducing a new use. We're talking about administratively parceling the zoning for an existing use. NPG also raised a couple of comments with respect to specific regulations that would go in the zoning bylaw. And I think, I can't really speak to those directly tonight. I think what I would like to do would be to have some direct dialogue with NPG, have our site plan available so we can look at it together and agree basically on what the best approach is for certain regulations. And a couple of them that they've mentioned are coverage, lot coverage, There's a number of sea cans on the property that they use for storage. And some of those will be removed as part of this process. One of the thoughts is that there may be a new building constructed at some point. It's not something that they're proposing to commence right away. But I think down the road, the idea is to construct another building on the site so that some additional sea cans can be removed. And what was stored in those cans can now be stored in this new storage building on the property. The only other idea, and this is not so much a zoning, but it is part of the site plan consideration, is there may be a new cell tower erected at the back corner of the property back here. That's not a certainty either, but in order to enable that longer term, should it happen, we're trying to build that into the thinking now of how it should be zoned. And all of those things would be picked up by the regulations. So I know we've got, I think, another meeting scheduled in a week or so, and I'm hoping to be able to have some dialogue with the township's planning consultant through that time frame to sort of agree on approach and firm things up before we get to that public meeting.
All right, so let's go around the table. Kim?
I guess maybe just a comment in terms of the bylaw for the definition of small scale commercial, like what is that? Because if the building is going to be, if they're going to look at expanding or building, does that put them into another classification?
So let's ask that of the planner. Jeremy, you online?
Hi, good evening.
Jeremy?
Yep. Can everybody hear me?
You can't hear you, Jeremy.
Oh. Can you hear me now? I'm just speaking. I don't know if you can hear me.
Yeah, we can hear you now, yes.
Oh, okay. Okay, good. Good evening. Through the chair, so the condition about the small scale commercial uses come from the County of Wellington official plan. So because the lands are located on secondary agricultural lands in the county OP, so only small scale commercial uses would be permitted at this location. So based on the applicant's proposal that we've seen on the site plan, the applicant is considering construction and an additional storage building that is approximately 465 square meters, as well as asking for permission for a maximum of 10 shipping containers to be located on the site. In my opinion, those would have to be reviewed against these policies in the county OP to determine that they are small scale commercial uses.
So just follow up with Kim, help her out. Is there a definition of small scale in the county official plan?
To the chair, the county official plan does not include a definition for small scale. They do, however, contain a policies of what small scale uses may be permitted. So Chris has mentioned a couple of them. For instance, appropriate sewage and water system have to be established. The proposed use would have to be compatible with the surrounding uses. The use would require non-urban location. The use will not hinder or preclude potential for agricultural operations, and the use will be small scale and take place on one lot. And large scale proposal would have to go through an official plan amendment. So as part of our review, we have asked the applicant to provide more information about the totality of the commercial uses that are being proposed on the site. The existing building, the additional storage building, the outdoor storage area, the extent of the shipping containers, and additional justification for how all of that cumulatively would be considered small scale.
Carol.
I do not have any questions or comments.
Chris.
I was struggling a little bit between possibly the various iterations of the proposed bylaw. So perhaps you can clear this up for me. At one point I read maximum lot coverage is 10%, and then I thought it said 15% somewhere else. What's the current state of the proposal? And while you're looking, I'm gonna ask the same question about landscaped area. There were two different figures in the material I saw, and I couldn't figure out which was the current iteration.
Right. Landscape, minimum landscape open space currently is 25% under the specialized zoning. And what was proposed is 20%. And maximum lot coverage in the current zoning, 10%, proposed 15%. So I guess both of those sort of offset by the fact that dealing with a little more area, so could be a little more building, and yeah, the amount of landscaped open space would be impacted by that, but it will still be significant.
Is there any issue with removing the encroachments that were noted by NPG?
The encroachments.
We talked about encroachments. I'm sorry, I can't give you a page reference.
No.
I should have written that down.
Yeah,
I
sure.
don't think they're significant, but
Well, if there are encroachments, they could be picked up by special regs.
you know, I think NPG's comment was the encroachments need to be removed.
Oh, yeah, well,
And a question for staff, the additional cell tower, I know cell towers have been contentious here. There are particular requirements in the township. Is there any issue with the request for the additional cell tower from the applicant?
If I may answer that question. So, so far, the proponent of that cell tower has applied for a pre-consultation meeting with the township for the proposed facility. We had the pre-consultation meeting with the applicant. However, a formal application has not been submitted yet. We had identified to the proponent through the pre-consultation meeting process is there is a site plan agreement, a site plan for the current development, and the proposed telecommunication tower should follow the site plan agreement as much as possible. And that would include shifting the location of the tower further to the west to ensure that there is a 3-meter landscape buffer located to the right.
Thank you. Last question is around screening storage. The bylaw as written, I think says planting, but the current situation says both planting and fences. Would you as applicant prefer planting and or fences, either singly or in combination?
I think planting and or.
I want to request that.
Yeah, like I said, there's a number of these regulations that I would like to review in more detail with Jeremy, and yeah, hopefully we'll have time to do that.
I think my comment to council would be, we accept planting and fencing as screening the storage areas, singly or in combination, rather than force people to tear a fencing that's apparently quite adequate right now. Or presumably, I should say, quite adequate. That was it. Thank you.
I would just like to follow up on Chris's question with respect to encroachments. Jeremy, can you just summarize encroachments that you were referring to in your correspondence?
To the chair, I couldn't quite recall what the encroachment issue was. From review of aerial image, it does seem that there is a portion of the outdoor storage on 6681 Ellis Road that seems to be located on the property to the south. But we didn't see that anymore on the site plan that the applicant has provided. So I'm not sure if that was the extent of the encroachment that you are referring to.
So, questions, why do you need all these, C-cans? Like, what sort of operation is there and that requires all these C-cans?
Well, construction operation, and I don't know what they store in them. I can't give you an answer. I assume it's construction materials, things that they're working on that they need space to store out of the weather. And, you know, I think that's the basis for potentially constructing a new storage building, so that get rid of the C-cans and whatever is stored in those.
Yeah, but you're only getting rid of 8 C-cans. From my understanding, there's 18 and there's still 10 going to retain.
Well, that is something that I can check with the owners and report back on.
All right, so let's go around the table. Comments we'd like to provide to council. Ken, you made a comment, a concern with the definition of small scale versus large scale.
Somehow.
Yeah, so let's suggest the wording. The council need to ensure that this is a small scale operation in accordance with the county official plan. How's that sound? Okay, Carol, you can have any comments? Is there anything else?
No, I mean, it seems like there's nothing really changing. I understand that it seems like more of a technical just requirements for the zoning to change. But without them proposing anything like concrete in terms of like buildings or anything, then there's nothing really to comment on, it seems.
Chris?
I think my comments would be, I would recommend council look at the 15% site coverage. 10% to me seems quite low for a property of that size, and the larger landscape area as well.
So currently there's 25% and there's 20 proposed. Are you saying that 25 should be on both sides?
Sorry, there's 20% proposed for coverage?
Yes.
Then, I'd be fine at 20% and the 25% landscape, yes. So I said I was having trouble with the.
Yeah, so my understanding was 25 currently and it's going to be down to 20.
For landscape?
Yes.
Yeah, I think I would be advocating for the 25% landscape.
Okay, so consider the landscape be retained at 25%. And what about the lot coverage? It's 10, and I got these notes. It says it's 11 right now with the new storage building.
And I would encourage council to consider 15% lot coverage, and even that's fairly small.
Okay. Any comments on that, on the lot coverage? Anybody, any other thoughts? No? Okay, so consider increasing the lot coverage to 15%. Okay, my concern is the shipping containers, 10 shipping containers retaining on the property, whereas it was only, according to the site area, only 3 are permitted. And I'd like to suggest that we have a council have an understanding why 10 shipping containers are required.
Makes sense.
And why not everything in the large storage building? Okay, and the site plan. Sorry, you mentioned you submitted a site plan.
It has been submitted. It's been circulated. We do have some comments on that as well. And again, I think that's where some of the comments on the zone change kick in, the crossover to the regulations.
Okay, so we don't need to mention the site plan to be submitted then. Okay, so Monica, could you just please read those?
Mr. Chair, that the committee provide the following comments for council's consideration. Number one, the need to ensure that this is a small-scale commercial operation in accordance with the county's official plan. Number two, encourage council to consider that the landscape area be retained at 25% and lot coverage be increased to 15%. Number three, suggest that council have an understanding as to why 10 shipping containers would be required. And four, the Planning and Development Advisory Committee would accept both planting and or fencing as an adequate outdoor storage screening.
All right, so have a mover and a seconder. Moved by Chris, seconded by Kim. All in favor? Good, thank you. All right, that's that for that one. So let's move on to the next one. 9.22 T14 CUL Cohen and Todd and Philgate Properties 2781 to 2809 Town Line Road, Township of Portage. The proposed zoning bylaw amendment application is to amend the Township of Portage zoning bylaw 23-2018 as amended to rezoning the lands municipally referred to as 2781 to 2809 Town Line Road from agricultural aid to industrial IND with a site-specific special provision to permit the proposed retail store and gas bar use. Okay, so would the applicant please come forward? Oh, you're here. Okay. Super. Could you please state your name and address for the record?
Good evening, Mr. Chair and members of the committee. I'm Todd Cullen. I'm the Vice President of Acquisitions and Development for Fieldgate Properties. We're at 5400 Yonge Street in North York. Along with me, just by way of introduction, was that sufficient? Introducing myself.
Absolutely, yeah.
Thank you. By way of introduction, I'm also joined by Peter Mahovlich, our development manager, sitting in the audience, along with Ed Sajecki and Christina Borowicz from Sajecki Planning Consultants, and Will Maria, the transportation planning lead with GHD Limited, and his colleague Vince Cosentino, just in case there's any questions they might be able to help with as well. Fieldgate Properties, and thank you for the visuals, much appreciated. And we'll just roll through them. It was just to give some broader context of Fieldgate and a bit of the history there. Fieldgate Properties was established almost 70 years ago, and as the visuals would suggest, operate assets over a spectrum of spaces, including low-rise housing, infill urban housing, general land development, property management, commercial and industrial development, construction management, and golf club management, along with retirement communities. So these assets literally take us across the 401 from London through Kitchener, Guelph, Milton, Brampton, Mississauga, and beyond, all the way to Ottawa. We're very excited to finally be here in Portage with what many of us in the organization believe is one of the most unique and important sites that we're on when considering potential township, county, provincial, and national level impact. Rarely, extremely rarely, do you have the potential of activating a site, an economic driver along Canada's busiest highway and its economic life vein to a large degree at a gateway location within a township on a significant regional road. It's very rare, and we're very pleased to be associated with this property. With all of that said, I'd now like to turn it over to Ed Sajecki from Sajecki Planning to run through the proposal we have before you, and then we'll be available for any questions that might arise. Thank you.
Thank you very much. It's a real pleasure to have the opportunity to speak to the committee tonight. Can you make that map a little bit larger? There we go. I mean, I love this contextual map because I think it really tells the story that we want to tell you. And that, you know, the site being on Highway 401, Canada's busiest highway, and being next to the regional road town line, and being right next door to Cambridge. I mean, Fieldgate wants to do prestige industrial here. And if you look at the blue within Cambridge on both sides of Highway 401, I mean, it's already there. But we've had the discussion internally, with Fieldgate, and we call this kind of an orphan site. I mean, where do you find a site like that next to very urbanized area, which is sandwiched between development within Cambridge and then over in Puslinch. Can we just go to the next slide? And then the area is, quite frankly, is rich with amenities, many of which are located in Hespeler within Cambridge to the west. And directly to the east of the site is the Puslinch Golf Club. So adjacent to Highway 401, there are several retail plazas already, shops and restaurants, gas station, hotel, commercial and industrial buildings, and recreational uses and warehouses. The next slide, please. So in our view, we strongly believe that the proposed development supports provincial, county, and township objectives related to economic development, employment growth, and the efficient use of lands next to major transportation infrastructure. The provincial planning statement, is a critical planning document that provides a framework for planning, within Ontario. And some of the key features are long-term economic development and competitiveness. This is a strategic site for investment located near a major transportation corridor. In other words, we believe that this site and what's being proposed really ticks the boxes of terms of what's intended by the provincial planning statement. Let's have the next. And very similar with the County of Wellington's official plan, which speaks about supporting jobs, commerce, and services tied to population growth, convenient access to commercial uses and services, cost-effective development, and land use patterns. And the site is currently designated as secondary agricultural, and we do note that an agricultural impact study has been undertaken. The next slide, please. So in terms of planning context, the zoning on this site is currently zoned agricultural. And next slide. Or the next, yeah, here we go. So as Todd said, the proposal includes prestigious industrial development on the site, which we believe leverages the site's unique location and its adjacency to Highway 401, the regional road, and the urban area just across the border into Cambridge. I think one point that I would like to make, which you're probably familiar with, is that there is a major review done, Puslinch by Design Employment Land Study. And we believe that this site, again, ticks the boxes of what was spoken about in that study. Proximity to Highway 401, a deep lot with relatively flat topography, so good to develop for industrial development. There are really no significant natural heritage constraints. And this also, we also have the ability, because of the size of the property, to provide generous setbacks and buffers to ensure compatibility with nearby uses. And the next slide. So the planning instruments, which we have submitted, they've been written in a way to accommodate actually two potential development schemes. The first one, which is Site Plan A up on the screen, that includes 3 industrial buildings and 3 multi-tenant industrial buildings, as well as a large format retail store and gas bar, which would be located adjacent next to Highway 401. And the next slide. And the second scheme, known as Site Plan B, includes 5 standalone industrial buildings and 3 multi-tenant industrial buildings. And you may ask, why are we putting up 2 concepts? And the way this will be framed is the base zoning would put in place with an additional caveat that in addition to industrial uses, the lands next to 401 could be used for major retail. So the draft zoning bylaw amendment, it does propose rezoning the site from agricultural to industrial to allow for those desired uses. And if we go to the next slide. I basically covered that, sorry, already. The next slide, there we go. So these are just a few examples of what the potential concepts for the prestige industrial buildings would look like. And what are I think the final slide. Which is really the next steps. So, following this meeting, the next step is to have the community meeting on June the 17th, or the public information meeting, I should say. And we'll continue working with staff from the county and township staff, on whatever revisions we make at that result from that meeting. I just want to add in summary that, we've done extensive technical studies, including traffic, environmental, hydrogeological, all this kind of standard things one would expect. But I want to also make something which is really not affecting you so much, but I think council will be very interested in. This will generate a lot of jobs, and it will generate a lot of assessment. And it really, in our view, is a site that is absolutely well suited to attract that kind of investment and result in and contribute to the economy of Footsonge for future generations to come. And at that point, I'll just say thank you, and we're happy to answer any questions.
Okay, Cam, start with you.
Can you just remind me again, the two options there's going to be, is it retail specific for both options?
Right, so in essence, the underlying canvas would be that prestige industrial could exist across the entire site, right down to the 401. However, if the interest remains in the idea of retail replacing what would have been the industrial at the end, the flexibility exists for that retail to be the use only in the southern portion, as it was shown on one of the slides where it shows that bottom 1/3 of the site, roughly speaking, could actually be used for retail. Retail could not go up to the northern 2/3 of the site. So the zoning would only permit for industrial all along the site and retail at that bottom third. Whereas if you wanted to, I think that might clear it up.
Yeah, Monica's just put it up.
So the intent of the prestige industrial would be what type of business?
I mean, we can go back to the visuals, but the businesses would be, I mean, there's third-party logistic companies that are obviously attracted to the 401 access, as well as the regional road and the short distance down to the 401. And then in the middle of the site, it's really providing some mid bay and smaller bay, which would be a little bit more of your, you see the uses in a number of our industrial complexes that are even dance studios and design studios. So there's sort of warehousing in the back typically, and then some type of office or administrative function in the front. Whereas those dance studios tend to take over the entire thing. And so there's a variety of uses that can go into those types of smaller units, which would be roughly 10,000 square feet. And then you can go into the mid bay, which are typically closer to sort of your 50,000 square feet. So they'd be smaller to medium-sized companies. And then the larger ones a lot of those are logistics companies and distribution type network companies, things of that nature.
Okay, Carol.
I did not have any questions or comments. Thank you.
Chris.
Just want to follow on Kim's question around uses. So we're not talking loud fume producing foundries, for example, here.
Right. Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, class 1 and class 2 industrial at a max cap.
Okay, and that's where I'm going. It's just when we're that close to residential, even though they are in Cambridge, not in Footsonge, we do need to consider our colleagues, of course.
Exactly.
And we have done noise studies for them.
I read that
report.
I read the summary, at least of the noise study, and
Yeah.
can't saw the comments, but thank you. Yes. Talk a little bit about the traffic impacts, both on Town Line Road and on 34 and on Ellis.
through you, Mr. Chair, would it be okay if we introduced our GHD friends to the discussion? Will, if you would, thank you, sir. Here, you take care of that, Chair.
Sure. So again, I'll just preface by saying that the traffic impact study is currently under review by the several reviewing agencies. So what we have in this traffic impact study is the general assumptions that we've got now in terms of trip generation, expected land uses, which of course are subject to review. And I think what we've got here is conservative in nature in terms of estimating the traffic, and then subsequently the traffic impacts that you'll see at the different roads and intersections. So in terms of what has been included in the future analysis is not only the development traffic, but also corridor growth, just general growth in the area, as well as background developments that have been planned or approved. And all of this has been vetted through the different reviewing agencies and information provided from them. There are some obviously mitigation measures that we've recommended to mitigate some of the traffic issues that obviously with the size of the property of this site and the number of trips that we've proposed to be generated, those are all been in the recommendations section here. Of course, those are going to be reviewed by the MTO, by the region. The only reviewing agency we received comments from so far is the township, which we're going through, and I think they were fairly good comments, and we'll be responding to those. But yeah, I think ultimately what we've recommended in terms of improvements are meant to obviously improve it and mitigate the delays and the capacity constraints that we see at some of the intersections and proposed driveways.
So what I missed in the report was any impact on Ellis Road.
So Ellis Road is probably the one that will be less impacted. We do have some traffic that from the residential areas that we assign traffic up there, but one of the comments we got from the township was that they believe that we've overassumed some of the traffic that's heading to the north, and believe that more of the traffic is going to be headed to the interchange and onto Highway 401, as this being more of a regional attractor. So that ultimately is going to reduce some of the traffic that we've got going to the intersection of Ellis with Town Line Road. But given that there is planned road improvements for the widening of Town Line Road in the Capital Corridor, that was really the recommended improvement that we had there was a widening to get some of that through capacity in there. Other than that, there would be no impact on Ellis Road itself, just at the intersection localized.
Thank you. How critical is it that you are able to connect the city to the region of Waterloo municipal services?
It's not critical actually at all at this stage. We've conferred with our prospective retailer, and they've somewhat recently suggested that the municipal services will not be a requirement, whereas previously there were no precedents in Canada that would have allowed them to go down that road. There are now. And so I think we started some healthy discussions with the mayor of Cambridge on that possibility. In her words, paraphrasing just a little bit, she said, "I'm warm to the idea." So it wasn't a hard no, but to keep things simple, quite frankly, if our prospective users are really not requiring it, then we probably drop pursuing it altogether. But it would be only a bonus play if people really wanted to entertain it, but it's not at all critical to the development of the overall site.
Thank you. So the reason I asked that question is I would not want to give the region of Waterloo or the city of Cambridge an excuse to annex our lands. And if we connect to their services, the municipal will take the lands and the tax revenue.
Absolutely. And I don't want to speak out of school, but in the meeting with the mayor, that was made clear. And I don't want to put words in her mouth, but the words to this effect came out where that wouldn't even be of interest. Those were her words at the time. But again,
heard her word, the next mayor.
Yes, true. So I suggest we're probably not gonna pursue those discussions much more, but, thank you for the question.
Lastly, and possibly the biggest one, is the whole question, back to Kim's comments in an earlier application, small scale. And I will tell you, I struggle with this being small scale. I quite like it. I see the benefits. I understand it from a planning perspective, but I'm looking at that argument about, is this small scale in the OP? I'm going to say I am tipping to no, which doesn't mean you shouldn't do it. It just means the OP amendment process would have to kick in. And I think ultimately that would lead to my comment that council in town and Cushman's really needs to think carefully about, is this small scale or is there an OP amendment required in order to satisfy the process?
Thank you.
That's
Ed,
it.
is there any comment?
No, we want the OP to reflect what's being built here. And if it needs to be modified to reflect what's being built here, then we have no difficulty.
Yeah, and we have an official plan amendment
And we
application.
do have an official plan and application before the county.
I think that was the answer I was.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That covers it for me. Thank you. Okay.
Correct.
Just a comment, I guess, and just on the really from my perspective on this application, like I am all in fully supportive in my position here. Like we're sitting in a advanced manufacturing technology, AI, transportation hub right now here on the 401. You know, you've got a lack of industrial space in a lot of cities like Burlington, Oakville, Milton. They're getting pushed this way. You know, a lot of companies are leaving Canada. There's a productivity issue. So when I see like, you know, industrial space being built on the corridor of, you know, like a hotspot in Ontario, like bring it on, right? Like, so like the drawings are nice. It's a great project. And so that's my comment.
Right, just some of the minutia points. Noise impacts. It seems to be a dialogue between our consultant and your consultant in terms of is that noise being mitigated sufficiently for the area residents?
And through you, Mr. Chair, I would say you're absolutely right. There's some very healthy back and forth going on addressing those comments. And some of the difficulty is that it's challenging to pinpoint exactly what type of mitigation measures, be it localized barrier heights for acoustic walls or baffling of rooftop equipment, until you get to the site plan stage per se. So we're trying to address those general technical issues with the township's acoustic consultant and ours working together. And we're just hoping that on very specific items, we can see that, you know, as long as the general good is being protected and preserved, that those details can be worked out at the site plan stage to ensure that they meet all of the required regulations. But definitely on a general level, I feel we're very close with the township's consultant on clarifying a few items.
There's a comment someplace in the studies that say that water quantity testing will be done 6 weeks prior to construction. That seems an awful late in the game type of thing. Wouldn't you want to do that well in advance?
Yes, and back through you, Mr. Chair. The well monitoring program has been going on for about 4 months now. Correct me if I'm wrong, Peter.
Correct.
And we recognize through the MECP process on water drawing permits that has to actually be monitored for about 12 months. So I'm not exactly sure where that comment may come from, but suffice to say, technically, we are going to fulfill all of those regulations and are very sensitive to it, and have recognized from day one that there will be all of those permits and reports required, which is just taking time. The reports are essentially done, but monitoring takes time.
Okay, do you tend to have a well protection protocol? In other words, if a resident goes dry during construction or even while you're operating, that you will adequately look after them, whether it's providing water temporarily or drilling a deeper well?
If that's not in the requirements, I think it's a wonderful idea, and I would I would not be opposed to that being included in potential conditions associated with the project, should it move forward.
Okay, in terms of development, option A or option B, when do you think you can zero in on that particular option? Well, what's holding you back?
I'm not gonna name names, but they're
You can't name
cagey.
names.
They are cagey.
They're in very serious discussions, in particular with one,
Right, and so we just wanted to give the flexibility, believing that both concepts can work. And that should it not go the retail direction, that, you know, as you see along that 401 corridor in areas that were mentioned, you know, Milton, the prestige and aesthetically well-designed industrial buildings could be a sufficient option there. So I really can't tell you exactly when we would know, and I'm not trying to play one off against the other, but we strongly believe that both could exist should one option not be available because of caginess.
In terms of job creation, how many jobs do you expect to be created here?
Rough estimate, again, Peter, correct me if I'm wrong, should the retail go forward, that in and of itself is around 400 jobs. And the industrial, I think we estimated the balance of the site to represent approximately 300, depending on the nature of the uses in some of the smaller proposed bay forms. And so I would suggest we're probably somewhere between 600 and 800 in that range.
Getting back to the water, is there a cumulative water assessment study to be done here? In other words, you're taking water, there's other users taking out the Post Lynch golf course next door is taking out water. You got all the other surrounding properties. Is there a need or intent to do that?
Mr. Chair, to be honest, I'd have to defer over to the technical side on that. I'm not entirely sure, but we can certainly look into that one item and report back as far as what the approach is and how that stands. I like to believe it's all being taken into serious consideration, and I believe it is by way of requirement, but certainly to highlight that is a helpful suggestion.
That's an excellent point. The cumulative effect is something that we certainly want to look at and understand.
I guess some of the detractors would be that you're taking away agricultural land to put this up. I know you did a land agricultural land, I think the terminology, agricultural land assessment study. Can you sort of highlight that a bit?
Here being secondary agricultural, and I mean the historic use here has been primarily what do we call it, feed cropping, Peter? And so there hasn't been a high priority put on the agricultural yield from this particular parcel. That's not to suggest that it isn't agricultural, but again, being secondary and being somewhat literally down the food chain in terms of what's been produced on the property, we wouldn't see it as a significant carve out of agricultural opportunity within the greater township and county, but recognize that it is a change in that regard.
But I will just add that if you look at the contextual map, I can't believe that within the next decade or so that you would just see a piece of vacant land there used for growing corn, when you have an opportunity, as was said earlier here, to create some really strong economic opportunity, given the location of 401, given the interchange that is there as well. So through the process of elimination, I'd find it kind of hard to believe. But anyway, that's just me.
Okay, so let's formulate some comments we wish to make to council. So first of all, somebody mentioned I think it was you, Chris, mentioned the small scale versus large scale. So what sort of comments you wish to make forward?
I would encourage council to consider whether or not this is in fact small scale relative to the official plan. And if not, encourage the applicant to follow the OPA process.
Sorry. Oh, Jeremy, please speak.
Hi, through the chair, I just wanted to provide a little bit more context. So the applicant has requested for an official plan amendment to redesignate the lands from secondary agricultural to rural employment lands with site-specific policies to permit the retail and the gas bar use. So the small scale policies that we discussed for 6683 Ellis Road is applicable only to secondary agricultural lands. So that would not be the test for this application in a way. But we did highlight our concern with the proposed retail use for that to be considered appropriate to be located in the rural system.
Based on our comment, if they're going ahead with the official plan amendment, I don't think we need that.
We don't need that comment.
We don't need that comment. Any other comments you wish?
That council consider the question of connecting to the region services versus maintaining local well and septic systems.
What context you want to put there?
Just in the context that really this should remain within the township.
So you want to go the other way and just say council committee supports using on-site services.
Yes, that's a much better way to put it. Yes, thank you.
Any other comments?
And to my earlier question around industrial, that council see a very clear list of acceptable uses. The term industrial is many things, and I suspect many people interpret it differently. And it's quite conventional with zoning bylaw to see more discrete list of uses.
Okay, so they're suggesting that we reclassify this as rural employment lands. So I was wondering if that, Jeremy, if it says it's reclassified to rural employment lands, does that sort of limit the type of industrials uses on the property?
Through the chair, for rural employment lands in the county official plan, it does permit a range of uses, and we have encouraged the applicant to refine the list of requested uses to be consistent with what the supporting studies have been demonstrating, what the concept plan has been demonstrating. The condition in the county official plan will require the industrial uses to be dry industrial, as in it wouldn't generate it wouldn't use a significant amount of water or generate a significant amount of sewage. So that would be the requirements for rural employment areas. Like I said, we did encourage the applicant to really refine the list of uses for industrial as well as the commercial uses, so that we have a clearer picture of what is being contemplated here.
I'll just ask the question in terms of the statement here, rural employment lands and versus the industrial definitions in the county zoning bylaw.
Yeah, back through you, Mr. Chair. There exists some back and forth right now with Jeremy and others on certainly our willingness to put the list in a more specific format. The OPA speaks about class 1, class 2, and class 3 industrial. We know class 3 is a heavier usage category. We are committed to the class 1 and class 2 restriction. But there's even question there, and we're just trying to work collaboratively, quite frankly, to figure out what uses are included class 1 and class 2. And there's different trigger points. Some are around noise levels and other types of emissions that can be acceptable in a class 3, but can also be in a class 2. We really want to limit it to class 1 and class 2. So there's no annoyance uses there whatsoever, just use a general term. But the OPA even uses only examples versus a list of actual uses. So we are working with the county, in essence, through their consultant to try and hone in on what that really should mean, even though the challenge really comes out of the OP itself in a lot of ways, not to be too critical. But so we're working, and we want to refine that to give people comfort. because there's no intention to go in with heavier uses that would upset the apple cart.
So perhaps we could limit, what you're suggesting to something like, proponent should refine the uses to conform with, county official plan, class 1 and class 2.
Yes, that works too. Yes. I think that works for you as well.
Yeah.
The proponent should work to refine the proposal such that it conforms with class 1 and class 2 definitions of the Wilton County official plan.
Yeah, as advice to council, of course, the means the council is comfortable with it. That's it for me.
Okay. Oh,
I made my comment.
well, what would you like to say?
Supportive.
Okay, so you want to have a, you're suggesting that you have an overwhelming first statement that, the committee supports this application in
Yeah.
principle.
That's my suggestion, based on even just, for example, John McGee, the job numbers were impressive as well.
Okay,
So, just the economic impact, and so overall, the committee is supportive.
okay, can I suggest we just say in principle, subject to meeting all the necessary?
That's fine.
Okay. Okay, so, anything else from anybody else before I go to the ones?
No, I agree and I support this.
Okay. Okay, noise impacts to be worked out. Well protection protocol to be provided. Cumulative water taking. Study to be provided. That's pretty well had, the fact that, if I'm right, you're gonna have about, 600 to 700 jobs, either A or B.
That's the estimate. Again, it may change depending on whether it's that retail at the south end, but the industrial will generate in and on its own, approximately 400 jobs there. So that's why I would say we're somewhere between 600.
So can I just make a point, just, and because I work in this space, so when he says like 10,000 square feet industrial just for our committee, that also just says jobs, but it's there's more to that, because it's attracting small business owners, right? That maybe they need like 10,000 square feet industrial is actually a really prime industrial space right now. So it's spearheading a lot more economic impact than just a bunch of jobs paying $30 an hour. It's really giving opportunity for entrepreneurs to set up a home on the 401. So I do this every day, so I kind of have this different vantage point on it a little bit.
Yeah, well, what I was going to suggest is the fact that we support this in principle, given, provided that all the necessary conditions are met. And put in that statement with the knowledge that about 600 to 700 jobs will be created. And to your point, we could say an additional spin-off jobs will be created.
Yeah, opportunities for small business to house operations in the township.
You repeat that?
Opportunities for small businesses, small to medium-sized businesses to house their operations in the township.
I'm just wondering how we can put that into positive that makes sense. I think we'll leave it at the job, because
Yeah.
Okay, we'll leave it at the job. There's spin-off jobs. I don't know, gentlemen, if you have any ratio type of thing of spin-off jobs that could be created.
No, not off the top of my head.
My old job used to have that criteria.
Look it up.
Okay, so go ahead. Read it.
Through you, Mr. Chair, that the committee provide the following comments for council's consideration. Number one, that the committee supports the use of on-site private services for well and septic. Number two, the proponent should work to refine the proposal such that it conforms with class 1 and class 2 definitions in the Wellington County official plan. Number three, that the committee requests that noise impacts are worked out. Number four, that the committee requests that a well protection protocol be provided. Number five, the committee requests that a cumulative water taking study be provided. And number six, in principle, subject to meeting all the necessary application requirements and conditions, the committee supports the application. The committee is supportive of the approximately 600 to 700 local jobs that could be created by way of this development.
Any modifications?
I would make the last topic, the last item, the first item.
Can we reword the point about the utilities to encourages? I can't remember what was it should be the second one now.
That the committee supports, you prefer it say encourages?
Could we say that? I'm very much in agreement
Sorry, can
with
you
the-
reread what you got there?
From the start or just?
No, it's just the
Kira's?
one, just the one that Kira's mentioned.
That the committee supports the use of on-site private services for well and septic.
Yeah, I mean, I'm very much in agreement with trying to keep all the utilities.
Yeah, so there's,
Could we reword it to encourages instead of supports?
I'm trying to think which one's stronger context, supports or encourages. Supports, I would go supports. Let's hear what Kira's saying.
Limit it to septic?
Sorry?
Do we have to include storm in that too?
Well, on-site services, meaning, for
Because it was
this,
specific to septic, so maybe just say on-site services.
On-site private services, period.
yeah, okay. Okay, any other comments before we move on? Okay, mover and a seconder, so this you do not follow, second, Kira, all in favor? Great, thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Great input.
All right, let's move on to the agenda. Staff reports, none. Correspondence, new business, anybody have any new business? Okay, adjournment.
That the Planning and Development Advisory Committee hereby adjourned at 8:59 p.m.
Okay, mover, Tim, second, Kira, all in favor? Thank you.